Hey guys, in this video we're going to go over how to open and close files in C++. The main reason you'll need to do this is anytime you want to read or write data to a file, you'll first need to open the file. So in the next couple of videos we will go, once we've covered opening and closing, we'll go into how to read in information from basic text files like I have over here on the right. So this list is just separated by a space, all the information, and then we have a comma separated list here. So we'll learn how to do that in some future videos, but first let's talk about how to open a file. So you'll need to include a library for this. FStream is this file stream library, which I've included up here, and then it contains several classes in the file stream library. This one is input file stream, which is what we'll be using today. There's also an output file stream class and a FStream class, file stream class. So if you need input or if you just need output, I recommend only using the class that you need. The file stream, the FStream class will let you do both if you need to do both. But again, you don't want to, if you're just trying to read in data, there's no reason to have the write capability in your class, because you might accidentally overwrite some data and then have to re-download it or what have you. So here I've just declared an instance of this class, called it sample file, not the best name in the world. But then what we need to do is we need to open a file, and we can use a built-in function in that class called .open, and it expects one argument, and all it's looking for is a string containing the name of the file you're looking for. So here I've got sublime file.txt. You can also use a variable here, so you could use a cn statement or get line, something like that, or you could use command line arguments and have your variable here so that it would read in whatever file that the user was asking for. Now with this simple format that I have here, where it's just the name of the file that you want to read in, it's only going to look in the file folder that this .cpp file is contained in. So both of these files over here, my sublime sample file.txt and sample file2, are both in the same folder as this opening and closing files.cpp. So just make sure of that. You can open files in other folders. There's just a different syntax for that. I'm not going to go over that in these videos. If it's a major issue or people really want to know, they can ask down in the comments, and maybe I can do a video on that. So .open is one way to open a file using this input file stream class. Another way is using the constructor, and if you don't know what that is, check out the video on classes. But here we do the same format we had before, except for we're going to go ahead and use the default constructor, which is just expecting us to pass in the name of the class. And again, you could use a variable name here if you wanted. So this is simple, it's only on one line, but if you need to open multiple files, you can only open one file per class. So if you couldn't open multiple files here, that would cause an issue. You would need to close one, and then you could open it again using .open if you wanted to. But here's how to open it, and when you declare the class, the instance of the class in the first place. So once you've got the file open, I highly recommend go ahead and doing this .close. So at the same time that you open your file, go ahead and close it, and then you can just space this down and assume that all your functions you're going to need are going to be right in here. But closing it manually, and the destructor will get called when this goes out of scope for this class, and it will close the file for you then. But this will help for several reasons. First, it's a good habit to get into. If you're writing a program that opens a lot of files, you might need to open and close them at different points, because anytime a file is open, it's being allocated resources to do that. And so whenever we're not using resources anymore, we always want to deallocate them. It's just good programming practice. And there is a limit to the number of files you can open at a given time, and it's pretty high, but again, good practice to deallocate resources whenever you don't need them. So I do recommend .close. It can also help you with error detection. So if this .close, if you call this and there's an issue closing the file, it'll throw an error here, and that can help you know that, okay, something's wrong with closing the file, instead of it just being when the destructor is called at the end when something goes out of scope. So anyways, so after we open our file, we always want to make sure we close it, which is we just went over. And then the next thing in your code that you want is you want to confirm that that file is indeed open. And so I've got a couple of examples of things I've seen. I just wanted to show you a couple different ways. It really doesn't matter as long as it works. But here we've got an if statement, and we're using another built-in function, this .isOpen function. So this returns a Boolean. It'll return true if the file is indeed open, and if not, we just have a return statement here. So I'm just going to build and run this for us real quick so we can see that, yeah, it worked. Cool. So the other way, or another way I have down here, and again, whatever works for you, you could do, and this is a little bit simpler. Here we've got not, so if this file is not open, it's gonna print out that it failed to, open, which is good, because if it failed to open, we want to know. And if it's just returning, if it's just exiting out of our program, we don't necessarily know where it's doing it at. So this tells us that, okay, it went in this if statement, the file wasn't open, and then it returned, and this return 0 is gonna return out of main, so it won't run anything else after that. So anyways, a couple of ways to do it there, and I think that's it for opening and closing files in C++. So in the next couple of videos, we'll go over how to read in .txt files. One more note, if you're using Mac OS, I had problems with the basic text editor when I was trying to save it just a text file. The default on the Mac basic text editor is like .ir or something like that. I don't know. I don't recall what it was. But even when I converted it to a text file, there were still some hidden characters there, and it was messing up with my reading in of data. So if you're on a Mac OS, I recommend using, don't use the default text editor. So here I just use Sublime, but use something else. You could also have problems if you use some other higher level text editor and then you try and change to a TXT. You might be able to open it, you might be able to read, but there might be some hidden characters, and when you go to actually read in all the information in the text file, there might be hidden characters that you don't see that will throw errors, and that'll give you problems, give you garbage whenever you're trying to read in the data. So anyways, hopefully that'll save you 5 or 10 minutes if you have that problem like I did. So we'll see you guys in the next video.